Hello, everyone, and welcome to One Liners, episode 20. Here we are. In our last episode, we had Darren Blatt from the AFI Awards discussing the upcoming show and expo in October. So if you haven't registered yet, use code DMoney200. That'll get you 200 off and register for free, for the free pay-per-call masterminds, which I'm really excited about with Carlos Corona, Adam Young, and Harrison Gevertz. Also, full episode 19 is up on my Liner Connections LinkedIn page or YouTube channel. Please like or subscribe. It's helping me continue to grow my footprint, and it's simple as. So please do so if you continue to like the shows. I appreciate all the feedback. So today I am really excited for episode 20. Have a long time friend who has some fresh news to share with everybody. Scott Payne, say hello, man.
Hey Joey, thanks for having me on, man. I like the even number of 20. That's perfect for me. I love it.
Yeah, that's awesome, dude. Happy to have you as episode 20. I've almost known you 20 years now. It's not
There
hadn't
you
been
go.
that long.
Yeah, almost.
But it's been probably, I don't know, close to 15 years or something, maybe. So we'll
Yeah.
unpack that in a second. So I've known Scott going back to his days at Greenlight Loans, which was if back in the mid 2000s, major growth, direct to consumer, refi shop in Irvine, which there was a million different. That was like the mortgage mecca,
Yeah.
for major production in Southern California, and Scott and I were a part of we had a very cool strategic, we just hit it off right away. We're in a strategic meeting about workflow and uh, best practices. And we just clicked. We hit it off. He went on to Nationstar, same thing carried forward there. With my previous business, Double Positive, we worked on some awesome contact engagement um, strategies for Nationstar portfolio and different paths for LeadGen there. And then Scott went on to Velocify and kicked some butt there on helping clients grow their instances and best practices, and went on to build out his own um, consulting firm for helping clients build out their CRM engagement and lead management strategies. And more recently, he has joined Shape full time. And we're going to talk about that first. But he was a partner of Shape for a year. I think it's great that they kind of had a great strategic partnership relationship. But Scott, I'm so proud of you, man. I love you as a friend, and I love our chats all the time. But I'm happy to have you finally on the show. I've been waiting for a good excuse, and when I saw the news that you were joining Shape full time as chief product officer, I was like, man, we got to get him out here and find out what he's doing and what the team is up to. So let's get right at it, man. Tell me
Yeah.
what made the move from strategic partner to going all in and committing as chief product officer.
So I'm going to jump into that. I do want to go back to the time that I first met you
Yeah.
was at LeadsCon in 2009, 2010. 2011
One
timeframe,
of the
and I
first
walked
ones.
in.
Yeah.
It was my first time at LeadsCon, and I see this guy high-fiving people, hugging people, just like there's a line of people to see this guy, and I'm like, I gotta figure out who this is, and I asked someone, and they said, oh, that's Joey. He's like the mayor of LeadsCon. He knows everyone and all of that. So fast forward all these years, I think it's so cool that Liner connections, right now you're connecting people and all of that, just full circle. And on top of
Yeah.
it, here I was all those years ago wondering who this guy was, and now I'm on his podcast. Like, how cool is that?
Oh man.
So anyways, I
Much
love
love,
that story
brother.
about you.
Thank you.
Yeah. And you went on to win awards, by the way. If those don't know, Joey's won the awards there for the LeadsCon stuff. So check that out. But yeah,
Thank you.
so Shape, as you mentioned, we entered into an agreement for Shape to acquire SDB Solutions yeah, about a month ago or so.
Yeah.
And like you said, we were working together for about a year. We had spent significant amount of time, my team and I, really vetting out the solution early on to make sure that it really fit into the kind of wheelhouse that we were able to work with clients on, that we felt comfortable with the solution, understand
Yep.
If we're going to offer support to it, make sure we really know it. So over the past, year, getting to know them, really what, I think happened was that I just got like new best friends. Like I was literally, I'm really, really close with Anthony on the
Hmm.
team and Danny on the team and their support team. Like all of us are like, we just felt like a team as it was. And especially as we're talking the same language and I'm wearing my Shape shirts around town, my Shape hats, all the stuff that I was doing there, it ultimately just made sense to kind of bring the two teams together officially, tell the story about where we've been and where we're going. And as part of it, I get a new cool title as well. So I still run the professional services group, which was my original team, SDP Solutions, where I'm president of Shape Professional Services. But what I'm
Nice.
most excited about is being now the chief product officer for Shape,
Yeah.
where I'm going to be involved in something that I'm so passionate about, which is coming up with the new solutions and new ideas and making sure that everything's staying, on the cutting edge of technology. I have an opportunity now to move a solution forward where, in our previous roles with other solutions we'd worked with, we were just a partner.
Yep.
They weren't taking some of our advice and hearing our feedback and all of that. We were just a partner, and now we are not just a partner with Shape, but part of Shape team.
That's so cool, man. Like, so we've been in this space for so long and we see so many acquisitions, so many, um, you know, hires that, kind of happen so quickly. And for you guys to be able to date per se, right? Like, I think
Yeah,
that's becoming more modern. It's like, hey, let's get a business relationship. Let's see how things are going. Let's see, like you said, you're going to have feedback and they may not accept it, but as a partner, you're going to actually see how you click with that company. It's great. Like you said, I witnessed you with some of the team members that you just mentioned. When you get on meetings or demos or pitches, you guys like have that chemistry and
we
you
do.
build that. It takes time. It just doesn't happen overnight, right? So for be able to do that as partners, it really gives you the idea. It's like, hey, all right, I've been doing this now for a year. I'm gonna go all in. I believe in this product, and they
Yeah,
believe in me. And I love that you get to wear those two hats, right? Because you're
yeah.
still so freaking good at. You're the best at like professional services. Companies just feel so comfortable asking you for advice and guidance and best practices, and that's not going to go away. But you get to do all this innovation and build, and I'm excited for you, brother.
Yeah, thanks, man. Really appreciate it. So excited
Yeah,
about it.
absolutely. So innovation, like building, I've said it on the show, I've said it people at conferences. Unfortunately, I think our industry has lacked innovation in general. There's some really good standouts, and thankfully, I work with a couple of them. But I just think that we've become numb to the same old stuff, right? And one thing I've loved meeting Anthony and you, thank you for the introduction when I started working with Shape, it's like it's all about tech and innovation. I think majority of the staff is tech, right? So,
Yeah.
um, you know, I know it's early now as a full-time employee, but how are you going to go about building and like working with Anthony and team to take a vision and start executing and prioritizing? How do you go through that process?
So, so what I've learned so far is that, with other companies we worked with in the past, and some are going to think I'm talking about one of them, but there's many
Right.
that I've worked with in the past. So I'm not singling out anybody, but what I found over time is that, these companies will build their technology and then they'll build a bunch of workarounds off to the side for clients, specific clients. And
Right.
when that gets done, it limits their ability to stay innovative because now when they build new things, they have to make sure that it doesn't break all these workarounds they have. So it slows them down. It adds complexity.
Yep.
And in some cases, it might break, certain things that they have commitments to these clients on these workarounds that they built into the system. The way that Shape, what I've seen over the past year, is that they've done an amazing job. Things that maybe I didn't realize in the beginning. That I said, well, they have these limitations from a number of record standpoint. Well, they do for anybody who just goes and signs up online. But for companies who are working with them and they might need more than a set amount of records, then we'll work with them and we add it. And we make sure that we're making sure that the infrastructure that they're on is set up in a way that's going to allow them to succeed as far as the system performance goes. And
Right.
so having some of these limits up front and then building really managed workarounds to make sure that, it's supportable long term and that it doesn't limit, those things down the road when it comes to the new innovation has been the biggest difference I've seen with Shape, from the way that the code is written, the way that, the systems are set up. It allows them to be nimble and to make changes on a very consistent basis, without having to do millions and millions of hours of QA to
Yeah.
make sure that a new release isn't going to break some company's system way over here that has this custom work on it. Now, it's not to say we don't do custom work. Absolutely,
Okay.
we do.
Yeah.
But it's built and done in a way thinking through really what is the impact, not just now, versus what are the impact, a year or two from now as we go out and build these new solutions. And so I think that's the biggest kind of thing that I've seen difference, the biggest difference I've seen that I think really has an impact to allow them to remain nimble. And so when it comes to being nimble, now you can start to really have an aggressive roadmap. You can, adjust things, on the fly if needed. You could, all of that stuff. And so, I think we can dive in deeper into some of the future
Yeah.
stuff we're working on. But, I think that the core principle of building technology that is sustainable long term has been the biggest thing.
I love it. That's key. I mean, you have to have a blueprint, a playbook that stick to it. Like I said, there's some custom work that you may be able to have to do, or it's worth it for a specific
Yeah.
relationship. But like you got to have that mindset. And I can say to folks that that out there that haven't had the opportunity to work with you and the team yet, it is so cool to see how nimble you are on the fly on calls when you get a really cool idea or concept or workflow suggestion. You guys will brainstorm that live. Like, it's pretty
Yeah.
freaking cool.
Yeah.
So,
Totally.
and our people in our space don't do that anymore. That's what I say. So it's freaking awesome. You and I did that, when since the day we met. It's
Years
so
ago.
it's
Yep.
I love it that you continue that mindset. So yeah, give us a little teaser. What's on the front burner? What do y'all, without spoiling in the beans, or what do y'all got working on right now that you're really excited? You're jumping right in head on.
Well, so obviously AI is the biggest buzzword right now. And I
Yep.
actually saw a funny meme today or a video, I think from Sales Bro or someone who went on stage, keynote speaker, and he just said AI, and then everyone clapped and he walked off the stage because that's, really what everyone just seems like they're talking about right now. But, it's one of those things that when it comes to lead management and CRM, like, we are not trying to replace a human being. There are
Yeah.
things in the process, no matter what product it is, that a human interaction has to be needed or has to happen.
Yeah.
So what I've been thinking through from a product standpoint is, okay, we need the human involved, but we need to make it as easy as possible for the salesperson to not only sell and do a good job of selling and focus on selling, but allowing them to quickly get done with an opportunity and move on to the next thing. And you've heard me preach this for years about prioritization and how you should prioritize the right opportunity. But like, we're taking 10 steps further. Like, it's so cool, some of the stuff we're doing where, you know, could it be, and we don't have this exactly mapped out yet. We don't have any dates or anything, but we are like working through what would it look like if I'll give you an example. We transcribe a phone call and we essentially provide notes to the salesperson. Says, here's the notes that you should leave, and you want to take anything out or adjust or edit. That's kind of step one. And then down the road, maybe it's, well, we heard you say that you wanted to schedule an appointment for next week. That's what we heard on
Yeah.
the call. Can you confirm? Yes, I do. And then that maybe is the next evolution where it just says, hey, these are the things we heard you might want to do next. Yes. And they just kind of click through and then they're done. And then you get down the road, like, what does that then lead to? Could it be that we just start doing those things for the salesperson once we train the AI and it knows kind of every single time they're clicking yes on these things? Well, hey, this is already scheduled for you. So that's kind of the evolution that I see, things that are possible with Shape and using AI in a way that makes the salesperson's life so much easier. And then we were even talking about, well, like, what are the things that slow people down before they reach out to a customer? Well, one of the things is I got to know what to say. Like, what's my update? What's the thing I
Yeah.
should remind them about, or what have you? And so one of the things that we're looking at is taking all of the data that we know about a customer, comments, calls, data on the record itself, and then prompting the salesperson, here are 3 things that you could mention on this call to have some success. So check in on their son who was sick last week,
Right.
or check in on this, or say this. The process is now this. The next step in the like prompt them for things to say that can save them even more time in preparation for the phone call. And then last but not least, I'm a huge proponent of video. Turning
Yeah.
your camera on, there's something about being face to face with someone when you can't be face to face with them. And so I've posted a lot of videos recently about video. I
Yeah.
think that's probably the most immediate thing we're going to be doing is incorporating video into the system as well. Where let's say you have a prioritized list of people to call. Typically, it's
Hmm.
always been just call, 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 call. Well, let's add video into the mix. So rather than place a phone call here, we want you to record a video. And here are 3 things you could say in the video. We'll get to that at some point, but record a video telling them an update of this or an update of what you're doing this weekend because people are going to be out house hunting. Record a video real quick, and then we'll send it to the person as kind of the contact attempt, if you will, and then you move on to the next one. Incorporating the video for that one-to-one video delivery to send via text, via email. We're even talking to direct mail companies right now and partnering to get QR codes generated into a letter that then is sent direct mail, and it's a personal one-on-one video and all of that. And there's all kinds of stuff that goes along with that, with opportunities from a tracking standpoint, lead scoring standpoint, and you name it when it comes to video. But I think that's probably the next big thing I would say I want to have a big impact on as a product leader.
Yeah. It's, thank you. That's awesome. Again,
Yeah.
Sherry, cool. That's some awesome stuff. So yeah, let me unpack that for a sec. So the first thing is AI, which, like I said, everybody's chatting about. You have to incorporate that into your business. You guys are. We know that the human is critical. Consumer wants to talk to somebody. Typically in the industries that we all play in, so human involvement is critical on a lot of different stages of a sales cycle. What we've learned with direct to consumer sales over the last decade plus is, and this is not a knock to anybody in direct to consumer sales, but there's a lot of things flying across from you and distractions, and your boss is yelling at you, giving you all these different goals. If we can make your life a little bit easier from a systems perspective and help you be more productive, give you that information that you need for prioritization, follow-up, better communication, that's a big win. Number 2, capturing that information that you're gaining on the consumer, making a more relevant relationship, differentiating yourself. That's also amazing. I think we get, and we've learned this, like our good friend Dale over the years, like just transactional sales does not work over time for people to be very successful. Sure, you may hit the average, you may hit your quota, but I think that's what Shape's going to help really build out and make people become better sales professionals, which is what we want, and the consumer is going to see it as a better experience. And then video, man, I've been waiting for so long for video to. I don't think we're at the stage yet where we're still going to do live video. Some companies, I guess, are doing live video but being able to do sending a consumer video so they can watch it on their own time. It's more personable. They see who they're doing business with. I love it. I think it's great. You guys are constantly looking at different ways to make it better for the consumer and better for the sales org. So
part of the innovation, by the way, because I think when some people have heard me talk about it, they're like, well, I've got to record this long video every single time. One of the things that we're looking to even do early on is just hey, turn on the camera and say, hey, John, how's it going? Hey, you're at this stage in the process. Here's a quick video that we have that I want to show you about what to expect next. And then we tie that together with a video that's pre-recorded. Now you have a combination of personal and combination, best video I've ever recorded about how, what happens after appraisal has been received, type of video. And then you're able to track and do all the stuff from there. But using the salesperson's time super efficiently, where it's not, hey, you got to record the same video 10 times. Let's leverage content both ways. So that's kind of iteration 1 that we're working on right now.
That's awesome. I'm excited to see it play out. And so if you need any testers, just let me know. Let's put on your professional services hat for a minute. So that's what I first really started working with you. Back at Greenlight, Nationstar, um, and you and I were and Velocify. You were at a show. Our good friend Tim in Karis Sawview Conference, which is always one of my favorite events of the year.
Yeah, totally.
And you had showed up with and you kind of built this reputation around your consumer engagement um, case study, and you actually you took the time to go through almost every lender in the room. You went through their sales
52
process.
of them. Counting.
It's amazing, dude. And I just looked around. You were sharing the results, and I looked around the room, and I saw everybody's jaws dropped. Like they were just like, holy smokes, man. This dude
Yeah.
just really did that. And I'm proud of you for doing that because it really is, you had to prove a point. Like people were just really bad at their business process and consumer experience and follow up and just giving the consumer what they wanted. It just, um,
Yeah.
what, so shout out for doing that. Again, that was amazing. What do you see now? Do you see any major difference in consumer? Like, are brands still going through their own flows? Like, and do you see? Have we gotten better as a group in direct to consumer sales, or are you still seeing the same old, same old? Let's just call the lead as much as we can, and then we'll move on to the next fresh lead.
Yeah. Some good, some bad. I would say, it's still very disappointing what we come across. And just to expand on what Joey's talking about, we put a lead on our customers or prospects, whoever, we put a lead on their website and we act act as if we're a borrower. We
Right.
first name, last name, email address, we're interested in your product. And then we hit submit and we track what happens next. We track every phone call, every email and text. We don't respond at all. We just track and see what happens. We look for 10 days. And then, I think where the biggest fall off and probably a pretty disappointing fall off happens is after 10 days, we call back into the company and we have a conversation and we act like we're interested. And then we say, hey, we can't talk right now because my kid has to go to soccer practice. Can you just simply call me back tomorrow at 2:00? And they're like, sure, great. I'll talk to you tomorrow at 2:00. And the results on that are even worse, and it's even more disappointing. Just how bad that part has gotten over the years.
Jesus.
I would say the differences we see now are things like we're seeing more automated text messages and emails, which is better than I guess nothing.
Right.
But there's a lot of times too where we'll get an automated and a personal one at the same time. There's no communication between the marketing and sales team to say, hey, we're sending this out, and then they send out kind of their own version of it, and that looks bad. Or a lot of times we'll respond to the email that we got through an automated drip and not hear back for 3 or 4 days from the salesperson because they just didn't handle the right way or didn't see it, or maybe they're out of the office or what have you. So there's so much opportunity there. Speed to lead, I would say, has gotten probably worse, which is surprising, right? Like speed to
Wow.
lead, you would think would be faster, but
Yeah.
especially like how hard is it to call the lead right away with all the technology we have? But it's got a lot worse. We've even gone as far now to for in mortgage, where we start an application. A lot of companies even shut off the ability for us to even submit a lead. The only option is to apply now. And so, okay, fine, I guess we'll apply now. Then we get to a spot in the application where we abandon, and then that is gross. How bad that is! Like a customer goes to your site, starts filling out information, they get a little uncomfortable, and then they disconnect or they disconnect from the app, and then we don't ever hear back from some companies, if not like 4 or 5 days. It is appalling how bad it is. It's disgusting. So that's really our kind of tool, as you mentioned, one, this presentation, but over the years after that was our way to say, okay, we have this process set up. Where are the holes?
Yeah.
Why are some of these things not working that we expect? And we'll work with companies every 3 months to really track and help them. Okay, we fix this hole. We always like in the dam, like plug this hole and it opens up this hole. We plug that and we plug that. And so it's always this kind of game. But at the end of the day, it comes down to this. I honestly believe this. It's the fact that, not to give salespeople excuses, because I'm pretty frustrated at times
Yeah.
but they really have a lot on their plates. They have a lot on their
Yes.
plates. And so I think that's kind of my mission with what I was talking about previously is how do we save them time where it's actually kind of fun to do the things they need to do, and we've teed them up and there's already a bunch of work done for them. Are they going to be more likely to step in and do the things that we actually need to be done on a create that personal level with customers? Because, again, I just think some tools out there are a little difficult for them to manage. This 8 leads they got yesterday and the 8 leads they
Yeah.
got today and the 10 they got last week, and how do they truly follow up with all of it? So we work a lot of companies on just, okay, let's take that out of their hands, do a shared lead model. Let's, send
Yeah.
it to Double Positive, send it to, companies out there that can help, work the lead, if you will, and then bring it back
Yep.
to them when there's where there's appointment. And for that matter, even, Shape has a lead engine product now that we can feed them in via email, allow the customer to choose the scheduled time. And then we got to work with companies to make sure people show up. Salespeople show up to those meetings, by the way. Another challenge that we work with
Right.
companies on. So, yeah, you're right. It was a career changing presentation for me to do that at
Yeah.
the Software Summit. And, but really that's what I've been doing that for years for our companies, our clients,
Yeah.
and it really has taken off. We've probably done, Joey, like 1,500 of these to date, since over the last 7 or 8 years. And I think I've only seen one. It was a guy named Ted. I'll give him a shout out, Ted, at a debt company. He had one of the best ones I've seen. He used a shared lead model using a get lead button. They got
Yeah.
calls expected, calls happened, and it was almost perfect. There were a couple of little holes. But it was funny. I actually printed it. I signed it and I said, "Hey, you're almost there. Great job. Best one I've ever seen." I put it in a
That's
frame
awesome.
and mailed it to him. And so he
That's
still has it to
awesome.
this day. So he posts on LinkedIn every now and then pictures of it as his desk.
Yes. We'll talk about Scott Payne mail deliveries here in a minute too. But
Yeah.
you know what? It's like what I've seen you crack through in organizations that help them fix that is that there's good communication between you, sales, marketing, ops. The problems that I think you were just identifying are when each business unit's in its own silo. Like marketing thinks they just need to have to buy more leads. Sales just thinks they have to, sell more. And ops is like, oh, our systems are what they are, and we just have to deal with it. But if you just take a little bit of work between each group to connect the dots a little bit, focus on your infrastructure, focus on your foundation. A lot of times you see the problems are within, not, hey, we
Right.
need more leads, we need to spend more. And, that's the one thing I think that you've really helped a lot of, that I've seen witness, you help a lot of organizations there, if they're open to that. And, we're all under such pressure for hitting this monthly goal, quarterly goal, it's like, hey, step outside for a minute
Yeah.
and focus on internal. You can fix your operations, make it better for the consumer,
Yeah.
and everybody wins. So,
Yeah. A lot of executives have said that, hey, we want you to come in as like a third party, neutral third party, and just
right,
tell it how it is. Like,
that's
don't
great.
choose a side. Just tell us how you see it. And it goes back to my days in Nationstar. Remember, I ran the sales marketing team where we were in charge of, marketing would get the leads, they give them to us, and we would
Right,
distribute. That way, as marketing wasn't distributing them. And then sales, like, we deliver to them. And if they had issues with the marketing lead, they come to us. We'd vet it out and make sure that
yeah,
we handed it off to marketing in a nice way, not a banging my hand on the table and these leads are terrible and blaming. So we actually got the name of marriage counselors. We were the sales marketing marriage counselors. And so we started to play on that, was like, hey, if you want a successful marriage, you need
oh my
to
goodness.
nurture your partner and be nice to them and give them gifts and like same thing. And so our team really helped kind of bridge that gap. And I think that's one thing that we brought from a professional services standpoint, is a standpoint of like, hey, I might I might call you ugly today, sales. Sorry, I'm gonna do it if you're ugly, and I'm gonna say it in front of marketing. Sorry, but you got to change it, right? And so anyway,
I love
that's
it,
our
dude. Uh, Talk to me a little bit about the mortgage market. What's your, I haven't spent personally as much time as I used to, just because, my consulting business, I've been, running around in other verticals recently, but I see you do keep up with a lot of the big players in the space. Like, what's your general sentiment? I know none of us have a crystal ball, but what's going on with, the focus of direct to consumer and rates and stuff like that?
Yeah, I think a lot. I mean, a lot of them are sheltering in place, if you will, getting
Yeah.
ready for an opportunity down the road. When that comes, who knows? Even if it just comes down a percentage or two, it's a big deal
Yep.
for some of these companies. And so I've seen a lot of companies really investing in building or kind of rebuilding or replugging their infrastructure back up so that when that time comes, they're ready to go. I've seen that early on and continued throughout last couple of months. I think a lot of them are, really getting strategic and not just, being so siloed within systems and really trying to understand how can we integrate them better, and what kind of waste is out there, what kind of systems are we using that maybe we could do in another system or something like that. I think that there's a lot of just wasted technology that certain companies they have it and this other company has it. How can we eliminate that and get one? I've seen a lot
Yeah.
of that happen as well. But no, I feel good about where companies are at. I know obviously things are tight still for a lot. I know loan officers are still struggling, but I think they're relearning some of the best practices now.
That's
To
great.
be ready for the future, down the road.
Yeah. And like we've been doing this long enough, there will be down the road. We may never see, 2.75 again, but we're
Yeah,
going to see a drop and it will make a huge difference because so many people have purchased homes the last couple of years, so
yeah,
there will be an effective, another refinance, may not be a boom, but it might be a little wave or something that we catch. So cool.
yeah.
Well, I love if anybody, I strongly recommend in general to follow Scott. He puts out a lot of good content. And he also, knows a lot of the key influencers in the mortgage space. He gives them constant shout outs. It's really cool to see that chemistry up. Actually, I was going to ask you, like, dude, you've really upped your game on LinkedIn, in general. Like I shout out, like, first of all, I love, to me, a huge differentiator is you've incorporated your family.
Yeah,
I think you're president of the school, dad's you. So you got,
that's what.
you got videos with the principal and the cops and everything, and then like you got, but you've incorporated your wife and your kids, and like that's awesome, man. Like, tell me a little
Yeah,
bit about
thanks.
that mindset there. What got you to get them involved, and do they love doing it?
Some of them do. I mean, none of them really like being on the camera. Um, but either did I early on too. So
Yeah,
they'll learn over time. I think one of the things I did early on in starting SDP Solutions was incorporating my daughter into some of the process. She helped me create my logo. She helped me, or maybe didn't help me create, but she was like the final sign off. Like, here's the three. You choose it. Which one are we doing? Um,
same thing with
you
my
know,
son.
uh,
My son drew my logo, dude.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
So that plus, the podcast music, like just things that, I can incorporate and that, 20, 30 years down the road, they can
yeah,
tell their kids that they were involved in. Maybe they can also incorporate them in certain things. I loved becoming an entrepreneur at the time of their lives that they were in.
yeah.
They got to see the highs, the lows, the how, you get to put family first. You get to make you're the boss, but if you do that, there's might be consequences to other things. And so early, they just got to see a lot of this entrepreneur side of me that I didn't even know I had, to be honest, in starting the business. But it's been fun to include them now into the video. I think mainly from I've learned over time that social proof is a big deal, right?
Yeah.
So one of my good friends, Kyle Draper, I've done a lot of stuff with him lately. He's
Yeah.
really motivated me to turn the camera on, even though I may not like how I look. I may not feel that. And there you go. Yeah, someone got that book
Scott
from me.
sent me
There you go.
this cool book.
Yeah.
So tell me
And
about,
thinking
yeah,
back,
like you've incorporated sending out. You've sent me some awesome stuff.
yeah,
You're the deliverable of all goods, man. But yeah, tell me a little bit about Kyle and
yeah. I mean, yeah, his big thing that got me, and it's in chapter one of the book. It's called about social proof, and he tells a story a lot about how his dad recommended a restaurant. He said it's the best restaurant ever, and his dad's his best friend. He loves this restaurant. Kyle should check it out. So what's Kyle do? Well, of course, like any of us, he goes to Yelp and he goes and looks at the reviews. And there's a review on there that is bad. It's like they treated my kids bad, or they this, that, whatever. And that essentially overrode what his best friend and dad told him it was a good restaurant, because he went online and looked at this restaurant by himself and found this review and therefore that review shattered what his thoughts were on it. And so same thing with any of us. If someone's going to search SDP solutions and
Yeah.
they're going to go online and see nothing, and they're going to see me, not going to understand what I do and how we do it, and my family and all of the stuff, like that's not a great thing. But if they go on and they see us doing all these things and how we work with clients, and again, incorporating the family part of it, they feel like they know us more personally, those types of things, and we're doing those things well, that social proof is going to override anything else that may be out there, or it's just going to, win the business down the road. And so that really connected with me. And so I've gone all in. I've gone all in the video. I'm doing my best. I still struggle with. I have probably 15 videos that I've recorded and haven't posted yet,
Wow.
because I'm just
Yeah.
still in that mindset of should I post or not. But he
Yeah.
talks a lot in the book about just post it. Like it's
Yeah.
natural. Like having your kid walk in during a meeting, like don't edit that part out. That's natural. This is part of life. This is what happens, and that resonates with people. And so yeah, so that book was kind of the start of it.
Yeah.
Kyle,
You
by the
wrote
way, yeah, he
keep
signed yours. Yep, yep.
and
And so
and keep speaking. People need you. You know.
they do. And think about that. There's a lot of people too, I think, that, that aren't using video for, let's say, trying to find employment. I know there's a lot of people out there looking for jobs, and I've sent this book off to a couple of them, encouraging them to turn the camera on
Yeah.
and say, hey, I don't see any videos of you online. I don't see anything on social media. Why don't you try that? And then you could direct, people to that content as part of the interview process, and they'll be able to see you and understand all of the stuff. So I think it's, video is not just kind of this business stuff. There's a whole nother aspect of it as it relates to employment, as it relates to, with a borrower, or with a insurance customer, or
Yeah.
whoever, to be able to have them see me face to face, even though I might not like how exactly I look at my eyes, my forehead. My daughter reminds me every day about this huge wrinkle I
That
have right
one.
here. Like, Dad, your wrinkle is really big in the video. I'm like, I don't care. I'm posting it.
I
Um,
love it. I love it,
so
man.
that video connection, I think, is the key going forward. I'm jumping all in it, and I actually jumped in it too. Also, when my grandma at the time was like 85 years old during COVID, thought
Yeah.
I would have, every single time would have to tell her how to start her Zoom meeting. And after like the first or second time, she's ready to go. We did our Zoom meetings. And I'm like, wait a second. If 85-year-old grandma who doesn't know technology very well is able to get on a Zoom meeting and have a call face to face like this, like I think this is the future. And so I started talking to people in the consumer direct world about, hey, what if you took an application face to face like this? What would your conversion rate go to? Like, what do you think? Right. And like, well, I could do that, blah, 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 excuse. I know back in the day, back when I was at Nationstar, we were buying leads. We wanted to route leads to our retail branches, which was not typical at the time, but we wanted to,
Right.
because I wanted to drive a face-to-face meeting at
Yeah.
the coffee shop, or a face-to-face. And so now, fast
I
forward all
remember
these
that.
years,
Yeah.
we have a tool to do this and to be face-to-face right at our fingertips, and people aren't using it. And I know it will increase their conversion rates if they simply just turn this on in some way or the other.
Listen to Scott. He knows. Surround yourself with his beliefs, because it's true. Like he's been entrenched in the sales process with so many different organizations, and I believe you're right. I believe as a society we got really good with video per se through the pandemic, and then we got fatigued.
Yeah.
And I think pushing it back out there, in for all different meanings, not just sales, but like you said, just different ways to make sure you're out there so people can see how personable you are. We are still in an environment where we're not necessarily all in the same office, or we're all not in the same town, or we're not, we have to benefit looking at each other and be genuine. And I really appreciate you putting the content out there. I subscribe to it. I really appreciate it, because I try to get my information out there, and sometimes I second guess myself as well, but I just keep doing it. And people come up to me and thank me for it at the shows and stuff.
Yeah.
So shout out to you for doing the same, brother. I remember when you were a contact before the pandemic, and you were filming your podcast there with your wife. It was pretty cool.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, dude, thank you. Before I let you go, because this has been awesome. And so yeah, again, guys, please look at Scott on LinkedIn. Look at Shape. There's a lot of good that's happening there, and I think if you're in direct to consumer sales and performance marketing, I think Shape's up for an award too at the AFI, right? Is
Yeah.
it just
Yep.
so yeah, It's great.
Yeah, for sure.
I will see you guys there, hopefully. Uh,
Yep.
but before I let you off the hook, Scott and I have had a bond over years over baseball and fantasy baseball, baseball in general. He's a diehard Rangers fan. I'm a diehard Orioles fan from Baltimore. First place Orioles. I got to get,
Yep.
you won't piss me off, but just tell me who you think realistic, what's going to happen in the postseason from Scott's purview.
So remember that run Kansas City had back in the day,
Yeah, against the
2015 ish?
Orioles.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
beat
exactly. Well, of course you remember that part. Yes, I know. But it kind of feels like that, where no one expected it. Maybe it was a couple years earlier than what people expected. I
Yeah.
think with Baltimore,
Yep.
I love the young nucleus. I'm a big
Yes.
baseball collector, baseball card collector, and so I have a lot of Adley cards and Gunner cards and what's his name, Cowser, and a bunch of these young guys. It's just
Yeah.
it's like nonstop prospects with the Orioles, and
It
they're all
is
hitting, which
Mountcastle. Yeah.
like just playing out perfectly. So really happy for you. I'm actually watching the Orioles more closely than I have in years. Actually watching some games, and so like who would have thought that? After the last couple of years you guys have had, and we have too. The Rangers have been
Yeah.
struggling. I'm at a point right now with the Rangers where I'm already thinking of more about my Cowboys being 2-0.
They
Outscored
look
70 to
really
10.
good.
But
They look really good. They
yeah,
look like a force, especially that defense. That's gonna be a
yeah,
tough team to beat in the NFC. But I think the Rangers could sneak in too. I mean,
yeah,
they've had some nasty injuries, unfortunately. But they may be able to sneak in. Hopefully, my Orioles. We're filming this on the 19th, so the Orioles beat the Astros last night. Hopefully, they can knock them out a game or two more for you to catch up
yeah.
to
We need
them,
some
and then you
help
can
for
sneak
sure.
in there.
Yeah,
um,
yeah.
where can everybody see you? Are you traveling a bunch? Coming up to any shows? Anything on your mind for Q4 or Q1?
I'll be in Chicago next week for LeadGen Connect. I'll be
Nice.
probably going to Fuse, the AIM show in
Oh, cool.
October, maybe NBA. But yeah, I think I'm back into in this new role. I'll be attending most of the conferences,
Good.
hopefully speaking at some along the way as well, and getting back in the swing that way from the show perspective. So we'll be recording a lot of content as well. So we have a chief content officer named Jimmy Ryan,
Yeah,
who has his own podcast. He's on episode 100 of
I've
his
seen it. Yeah.
podcast. So he's
Wow.
really really good at interviews, and so him and I are teaming up to record interviews together. So it
Yeah.
gives me a little bit, takes some pressure off me to be like the color commentator, if you will, and he'll be the kind of host to drive the conversations. And so we're going to be starting that up. We're actually starting today, actually this afternoon, with our first episode together. So be on the lookout for that. We're going to have a ton of content coming out
That's
as well
great.
with some of the big hitters in both mortgage and insurance and solar and debt. I didn't
Nice.
mention that I've been mortgage historically, but
Yeah.
have been able to dabble over the years in other industries, and really Shay gives me the ability to get back into those industries. So you'll not only see me at just mortgage stuff, but also some other industries as well going forward. So we're doing some really cool stuff in some other industries that it's so much fun coming to work every day. Seriously, like
I love it.
I can't wait to start, and I don't want to leave. And just when you're having fun, it's easy to do that. So
That's it, brother. You got to enjoy what you're doing and
that's
enjoy
right.
the people, enjoy the time that you have with the people that are surrounding you. You guys have a good culture and you're going to keep kicking some ass. So it's great to witness. I'll see it in Chicago. And thanks again. I know it's been real busy for you. Obviously, you've been with the new role and then you were at some family travel. So I really appreciate you jumping on with me today.
Thanks for having me, Joe.
Great to
Honored to be
see you,
on.
brother. Yeah.